Well, hello, Studio 108 community. Thanks so much for clicking in. Today on Following, I'm excited to welcome Jeanette Troiano. She is Oracle, which breaks down to like Auracle. And that's how I kind of remember it. She just told me how to pronounce it correctly today. So we're getting the details all straight. And you may have noticed that we have an event at the end of August around auras. It's called Amp Up Your Aura. And I wanted to sit down and unpack this with Jeanette because she knows a lot about auras. And, I'm kind of excited about that. So we're going to get into it. Hi, Jeanette.
Hi, thank
Welcome.
you for having me.
I know, isn't this fun?
It is.
I know, we just get to kick back and see what's going on with auras.
Yes, for all the podcasts I listen to, I feel like I should be an expert. Now it's like a different firsthand experience. So.
Absolutely. Now it's your turn.
Yes, and I tend to mumble, so if I mumble, just let me know.
You're
speak more clearly.
You're really good. I can shout. So
Okay.
we're quite a team.
We will balance out.
We are quite a team, so we're gonna have fun together. All right, so I would love to know how long you've been Oracle, kind of what got you interested, what got you started.
So when I first heard about it in like 2019, I was in Detroit visiting some of my good friends that live up there, and they asked if I wanted to get my aura photograph taken. And I had not heard of it before, but I just, those words together, I was like, yes, please. And it took a couple of months of planning because the place in Detroit was booked out quite a ways.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not a very common service.
Right.
So yeah, so by the time I gotten my appointment, I'd kind of done a lot of research and I was so excited to go in. And my friends, we all got one, the three of us all got individual, and it was just so cool. And since then I kind of became obsessed and finally got my camera in 2021, which is, post-COVID. And because there's hand sensors, it was not really the ideal time to maybe be like branch out into a totally new practice. But it really gave me a lot of time to kind of hone in and calibrate to my camera and sort of figure out how my interpretations and readings would work, because everyone sort of has a different style, I think. So
oh wow, I love that. Like I love it when the universe kind of gives it to you in the way that it's going to work best for you. Were you kind of at ease and hip to that, or was it kind of frustrating?
It was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I'm very much somebody who, like, if I'm going to learn to do something, I want to learn it the correct way. I feel like there should be a formal training course or accreditation or licensing or something. This is just not that type of feel. So it was like a lot of just research on my own in books, and I really look for the evidence-based research, which there is not as much as you would think. And then kind of anyone that would talk to me who was in the field, trying to get other people to photograph me. And then honestly on Instagram, just kind of following other aura photographers and seeing their interpretations, because like we have overarching concepts for most of the colors, but there are so many ways that they can kind of blend and overlap, and you see gradients and you see bruising, just all these subtleties that like you're not really gonna understand without seeing hundreds of photos over time.
100%. And what is your I know, but unpack a little bit like what your background is, where you're coming from in your own personal professional journey.
Yeah, so the last 10 years I've been working in community mental health, and just kind of being in that field, you start to explore, different healing modalities and different ways that kind of people connect to self. So, during that time I tried out things, like sound healing and Reiki. I did get my Reiki level 1. But I have not, I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I've not followed up on that quite as much. But yeah, that's kind of like the last 10 years. But then before that, I was in coaching, like actual athletic coaching.
Oh, cool.
But then I also did a coaching program at Case Western. Then before that, I was in hospitality, and way back post college, I worked at Fox 8 here in Cleveland.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of experiences kind of getting to know people too, and kind of watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's been helpful.
So it's a new way to watch people, isn't it?
It is, but it's like everything now, life is through this framework of the aura color framework, and that kind of helps me understand life a little easier. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's that's so good. I can't wait to see through your eyes what that's about at our event. So I'm super excited about that. Okay. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit, because you mentioned to me, and I couldn't even remember to answer you back. But when we spoke previously, you had said that there were different kinds of cameras, equipments, or readers. Like, how does that work? What did you end up choosing, and why? And what are you going to be bringing?
Yes, so I'm gonna be bringing the Auracle 6000, which sounds kind of like a transformer type name, like the Oracle, but
Or like a ninja knife thing.
yes,
Ninja knife.
right.
2, 3.
Exactly, like it's the best of my knowledge, maybe two. I only know of one manufacturer, and they make the version I'm using, which is the Oracle, and this is kind of a large white box that has the lens, and it looks like almost an old timey camera in the sense that it has like the shutter release is like on a string and you push it. But then attached to the camera is a very long electrical cord. We have 2 hand sensors. So it's a little bit of a setup. And then because we need it to be pretty dark, I use a tent, and people use different things. But we have Fujifilm, so it's Fuji Instamax film. It looks and feels like a Polaroid, and the original camera did use Kodak Polaroid film. It was that old school like pull apart film.
Remember
But
that? Yeah.
Kodak stopped making it. They
Yeah.
went out of business. So then just maybe, and I don't want to misquote the date, but I will say in the last 10 years,
Sure.
the camera manufacturer has switched over to this Fujifilm, just kind of really opened it up for more people, because with Kodak, the availability of the film was so limited that it was really hard to get a picture taken.
Wow, cool. I want to know how the hands relate to the electromagnetic field around the body.
Yes, so they are measuring sort of like meridians and biofeedback, and the camera manufacturer has a proprietary algorithm that they use to analyze the data. So I don't know too much more about like the detailed inner workings
Of the technology
of
itself.
the technology itself. That's one of the things I really spent over the last 2 or 3 years, is kind of testing the face reliability and the face validity to see, based on the concepts of the chakra, is it measuring what it says it's measuring? Is it doing so reliably? After about a year or two, I felt like, yeah,
A little aura scientist.
a little bit like that. I think that's kind of what I bring to it. Whereas, other people have definitely more of an emphasis on the photography aspect. They come from an art background. They're very much into the light and the angles, and that's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
Others are more like energy healers, Reiki, that sort of the aspect that they're coming from. Whereas I'm like a little bit data.
Yeah.
Just because I want to be
Super
able
interesting.
to, if I'm providing this to you, I want to be able to say like, yeah, I back up what I'm sharing. I'm not just pulling things from wherever, the ether.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like a woo-woo element that we've gotten kind of sensitive to. And yet at the same time, I think there's more and more scientific confirmation to what we had been maybe thinking was woo-woo too. So kind of both.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think?
Yes.
Well, I know you said too, the FAQ, the most frequently asked question you get is it spiritual?
Yeah, so it's overall I would say no.
Okay.
In the strict sense that it's not connected to anyone's spiritual belief or any religious background, other than the chakras, which come from the Hindu belief system. But they're not connected to that religious tradition specifically. It's very much just kind of where the energy meets in our bodies, and it relates to a frequency of vibration that is scientific, that exists.
Yeah, you know what, that I'm smiling so big I can't stand it, because exactly. And this is what I've spent like my career too, kind of unpacking and helping people with, is that the chakras aren't religious, they're not Hindu. I mean, the first drawings of them in art history came through the geographical region that Hinduism sourced from, but it was considered anatomy, it was their science.
Right.
And then now we have the anatomy where the nerve ganglia of the body are what we look at.
Mhm.
And in our anatomy, they overlay quite directly and specifically over the chakras.
Mhm.
So exactly, it's not really spiritual, it's more like some people call it a soft science rather than a hard science, but I mean,
Exactly.
it's just because your definitions of soft and hard, to me, soft means sourcing from a different culture that I'm not used to. And hard means sourcing from the Western medicine culture that I give more credibility to. Like, I don't know necessarily in this example, like it's more of a cultural difference and a
Right,
credibility difference, I think. I don't know.
right, and there isn't necessarily an objective westernized way to measure energy.
I know, we just haven't explored with that before.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Army, the US Army actually did test out Kirlian photography to see if it was a way to measure fatigue in the soldier. And they found that it does predict, it is a good predictor of mental and physical health, but they didn't think it was going to work for their uses, probably because you do need subjective report. If I'm a soldier and I want to say like, maybe I need a break, then yes, I'm gonna agree with whatever the or photo says.
Right.
So I think that's maybe why they didn't use it, but clearly
Well,
they
it
saw.
wouldn't necessarily be quick and efficient for
No.
them to be either.
Right.
It's probably more efficient ways of determining that in the heat of their moment than.
Exactly, and like that's, even though it's an expression heat, like the equipment is fairly sensitive to like moisture or dust or dirt or things like that. Not in like a typical setting, but I wouldn't like take it to the beach or anything like
Or,
that.
to the middle of the battlefield.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna be popping this up in the middle of any kind of situation where there's conflict or, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? I just want to hear your stories.
So kind of with the spirituality, like there are, so in the photos, sometimes people will, do you wanna see?
Yeah.
Um,
We might not be able to put it, of course, on the Audible, Spotify, Apple, but on the YouTube here, where she's got little cards. Are these photos themselves?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm hoping I can find one that's got like a kind of a good example, so.
she's got all these little, they look like cards, you guys, they're the side of a deck of cards, but they're photos.
So you can kind of see it there, those,
Okay.
we would call those like orbs.
Oh,
sort of like
yes,
little-
okay. So if you're on YouTube, you can see that even though the color kind of halos, within that ring of color, there's a shape here of how it has orbed. And in this photo, we're seeing that in sort of a blue purple tone and a green, light green, dark green kind of tone. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's the mental consciousness area, and there's two schools of thought based on my research. Some people say that it represents kind of intense mental processing, almost like mini mental storms of activity. And when I offer this explanation to people, I say I would anticipate this would be kind of people who are more compartmentalized in their thinking they can kind of separate different aspects and really just, compartmentalize them. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Then the other explanation is that these are outside energies. They are either spirit guides, ancestors, loved ones that have passed on, or just general outside entities.
Angels, guides, divine being.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have no way to confirm. I offer both explanations and just kind of let people see what resonates with them.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Mhm.
I love that.
So that's
I cannot see my aura.
yeah. That's really the only other spiritual aspect. I would say the rest of it is it's sort of like a personality test meets like color psychology, meets kind of like the vibe of a horoscope, but I don't know astrology well enough to really
make
include that.
relationships to that, yeah. And I think too, you would probably kind of confirm this concept where this is a photograph of a moment in time,
Exactly.
not like a whole life story.
Correct.
Or a prediction of the future.
Correct.
It's like, this is one flash. And I think that's, you guys, I'm so excited about this event we're having because we're going to be doing this before and after thing. And Jeanette's gonna take everyone's picture before, and then we're gonna have a yoga practice specifically for amping up your aura. So it's like our scientific experimentation and observation, because the after picture is, I'm sure to be different because it's gonna be a different moment in time. And then we can kind of compare and see if the practice was effective, if it did what we felt like it could do for us, or what, and yeah, and we're gonna get a little bit of your interpretation and help around that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what kind of experiences have you had in before and after things?
So we have done one unique one that I was able to do because I was at a dental appointment. Was I did a before and after with anesthesia. Because I was very curious about the effect on the consciousness. And the colors were slightly different, like noticeably different, but nothing drastic. But it was really the color quality was interesting. It was much more muted. It was much fuzzier. There wasn't, a lot of times we'll get like bands of color. This was just kind of all haze.
Yeah.
Like you could tell the overall vibe was like foggy.
Yeah.
Which you would expect coming out of anesthesia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Interesting.
Yeah, we had someone this past weekend who came with like a picture of a loved one, and they did that before and after. And then this past Friday, I had a friend come over, who I'm so lucky to kind of have in my world. He is a like Grammy Award winning writer, producer, musician. And I really wanted to see, because I had first photographed him in 2021. So kind of just in general, what has changed over time? Not much. He is still very much.
Do you have the before and after on that?
I do. Because it's just like, I was so excited about it.
Have you ever done it before and after he sang?
Well, so kind of a little bit. That's what this one was about. So that's
His colors are really intense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you guys.
Very
Do you
intense.
have a second one to show before I hop up?
I do, but I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna show this one. Oh, it's kind of reflecting from the light. How can I get it?
Yeah, that's tough with the
Yeah, with the camera and the lights in the room. It's deep, deep red. And what it's hard to probably appreciate is above this red is like a super deep,
purple indigo.
I want to say indigo, but it's almost like, and then above it is almost like that black purple,
Yeah.
like so purple that you almost want to call it black, like midnight dark. Okay, and really banded and smoothly,
Yeah.
kind of cleared out.
So this was his before, and he brought his guitar, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna jam out for a little while, kind of get into that headspace. And we were expecting that to be enough to kind of shift his aura a little bit, especially because he's coming off a day where he had more business meetings. He's from Cleveland, but he lives in LA and he's been home for a couple of weeks. So he's working on West Coast time, and I really thought once he's, in that
his
music space, it'll change. It did not.
Oh,
It was second photo, third photo, fourth photo, where we're all like, oh, he's getting kind of bummed out. I was like, all right, let's think about this. Even though the guitar is your creative space, it is something you are used to, and it's a physical vibration you're used to. So what other instruments do we have? I had a piano, but he also plays the piano, so that was out. And then I had a steel tongue drum, because in my mental health career, I have used that for relaxation. So he hasn't really played one, but he picks it up, and I'm not kidding, within 2 minutes, it sounds like he has been doing this his whole life. It was like one of those, the Spotify playlist, like fall asleep quickly, but with like a hip hop undertone, and it was so relaxing. And I'm like, oh, this is so calm. I'm like, all right, let's take another picture. We start to see a change. But then he can figure out that we can isolate specific notes on this. And I'm like, all right, if you're at a red, we want to kind of bring you up. Let's do green, which is C, I want to say, musical note C.
Yeah.
It's C or G.
Okay.
So we isolated that. And now to do this, we have one person who's holding down all the other things. Jeff is sitting with his hands on the sensors. I am hitting the one note with a mallet, and then I'm taking the photo. So we couldn't take a picture of all this because it's going on. So, but Jeff is hearing the music as the photo is happening. And we did it with green, and then we did it with blue, because we started to see a change. And this is that blue.
Oh, wow. Okay, you guys, now, if you're on the audio, I want to describe it to you. Now on the left side, it's green into yellow. On the right side, it's orange into yellow. The band of red has shifted tones. Oh my gosh, I think the light is just working against us here. I don't know if you can see. Hey, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. Come to the workshop, but there's almost like an orbing up at the top of this too,
Oh my
with
gosh, it's
purple.
so beautiful. It's like
Yeah,
purple violet within the red band.
yeah,
Which if we're going with the mental processing, it's like intense creativity,
right,
even with all of this other stuff going on.
right.
But like when we did the first note with green, it took these both up to yellow. It was yellow and yellow, which makes sense. Because
Right,
all the way
right.
down to red, it's kind of hard to bring it all the way.
Coming up the rainbow, yeah.
You're
you're
coming
not
up the rainbow?
jump immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so by blue, now he's like, you know,
Uh-huh.
a full tie-dye t-shirt. And it was like, it was so exciting in the moment.
Or in terms of how he felt. Like, does he have the sensitivity to kind of feel that my aura has changed?
He does.
Uh-huh.
And he kind of it has some level of the synesthesia where you can kind of, he doesn't see the colors, but he experiences them in a different way than we
Yeah, yeah,
do.
he has a sensory system.
Yeah.
That's kind of like,
Yeah,
notices it and interprets it.
right.
Well, we're going to be doing some of the practices of Kundalini Yoga and the aura and the arc line, which is this band, are two of the bodies or two of the systems of the physical instrument. And so I'm super excited when we do those practices that are specific, if we can see a difference. And most of us, like I think people who practice Kundalini Yoga practice it because they too have some sort of a sensory experience of themselves, right? Like that's what we want. We want to become more sensitive as a human instrument, and we want to like develop ways where we can feel ourselves and know ourselves so that we can know when we're in alignment, when we're out of alignment, when we're feeling connected, when we're not connected. And we want the tools when we get kind of, tangled up in life, we want the tools to get back into that more organized, systematically structured way. So I'm excited about that. And thanks for bringing those pictures.
Yeah.
That is so very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, and before we had taken his pictures, because he's so amazingly talented, I was like, I'm gonna sit down and you can play a couple of my favorite songs and just see how my energy. And like any song I could have said, and he would have been like, sure. And he did it. And he played 4 or 5, and I went from have my so my before was basically something close to this.
Yeah.
I'm a little colorful in this.
Okay, so this is the one we showed before with the blue and the green and the orbs up through the. Oh,
And then
wow.
that's me listening to music. All my music
Okay.
colors were as orange as could be, with a different, like a little bit of yellow here and there.
She's got the orange, she's got the yellow, but you've got a real radiant glow at the heart. And she's got orbs, those same orbs that were here in the blue and green, like the same, is that the mental band you called it? In the mental band, so the colors still kind of formatted themselves in those orbs. Maybe I should have stood with his pictures back a little further. I don't know, there's a reflection of the stuff on the shelf. So anyway, you guys, if the best way to see it is to come to our events. There we go.
Right? We might see people kind of going into orange, especially if there is like music playing, because it is that sacral creative chakra.
Right.
It just taps you into the emotions.
Yeah,
So,
and I'll tell you, the red at the root, like sometimes the root chakra gets kind of a bad rap. Everyone's like, oh, I want to be way elevated up here, but you cannot elevate unless you are rooted. And so for most of us in this society, we need the red. We need to be rooted. So it's almost like your most effective practice could be the one that takes you the deepest into the red, where you're really just embodied and rooted. Your red would be your confidence. Your red would be, well, first of all, red would be the anchoring of anything you're creating. So bringing it through and just anchoring that creativity into a 3D, into a real tangible physical expression is going to be a product of that lower triangle, like yellow, orange, and then red to get that real drop. So it's not a disadvantage to see those really heavy dark colors, which could be why he was working on business and stuff, and why he had so much red, because he was down in the 3D, really heavy anchoring in.
yeah,
Things like, yeah.
one of the very interesting things that I've learned just in the past 2 months is that people can have any variety of colors going on, but if they have in the last half hour before taking their photo been doing any kind of budgeting or mental math or financial calculation, I will almost always see just a little red band here. It sticks out so much, and
That's
it's
so
the first
cute.
you try to like, oh no, it's probably just a coincidence, and then no, people go, oh, nope, just paid a bill. Nope, just got off the phone talking about my daughter's wedding and how we're gonna like, I'm like, yeah, that's.
And so you're seeing it right up at the rim of the
Mhm.
crown of the head. So like, look at how interesting it is that we think we're like stacked one chakra to the next like a rainbow, but that's not the way we're so much more multidimensional than we appreciate. Oh, this is really exciting. I'm glad we sat for this today. See how
Yeah.
much fun it is?
It is. Well, when you were talking about like, being rooted in like kind of it does have like more of like, people are like, oh, red, like they kind of
Yeah,
get bummed out about it. But like you said, we have to do the red to get higher, which is kind of mirrors, psychological theories like Maslow's hierarchy of need. You have to get the bottom level of survival and stability before you can move up and eventually self-actualize.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's really, when I do teacher trainings and stuff, we talk about the chakras, like 77 needs to flow from the south to the north, every bit as much as it needs to go from the north to the south. So your energetic current needs to come from underneath you up through into this liberation current, to your higher accesses and relationships from above. And it also needs to come down from above, southbound, so that you can anchor it in, and that's called your manifesting current. So the liberating current, the manifesting current, like you want things flowing in that direction. But the fact that you're seeing the colors through that whole auric field in different, really interesting patterns is super exciting.
Yeah, you meant like 77 the highway, like that's
Yeah.
a metaphor, okay, I was like, I didn't know if it was like a killer frequency or like just a local average. I was like,
But
no,
no, I know the highway.
I knew it, I got it, I was like,
You want the road, you want your energetic current flowing in both directions.
for sure.
So that's fun. All right. What else? Okay, what's coming up that's fun for you?
We got lots coming up, I'm gonna be at the Summer in the City event on August 8th, which is at like on a rooftop in Ohio City, so it's gonna be beautiful.
August 8th, you guys, that's Lionsgate Day, 8/8. So that'll be a really powerful day for you. You should see some good this Earth, the Sun, and the star Sirius are all aligned on 8/8. So and this year, because it's 8/8/2024, 2 + 0 + 2 + 4 is 8.
Yeah.
So it's an 888 number. So the numerology is really good. So you should have a really good woo-woo day for that.
Awesome.
All the woo is in your favor.
Yeah, that's all I have. Well, it was, what was it, the 21st, July 21st, we had studio days and it was a full moon.
Yeah.
So I brought like my Prism Oracle deck, which is very color based, and the cards like have one word on them. They're very like easy to understand, and they just were matching up in a very woo-woo way.
Yeah.
People like were like, oh my gosh, I feel like that card jumped off the table at me. It's so appropriate. I was like, yeah, it just works out that way.
Yeah, Capricorn flora. I mean, yeah, it was a Capricorn full moon, July 21st. The second one.
The second one, and now I think the next four are all gonna be super.
Are they all gonna be super good? Well, we're back in that sequence too, where we'll get the new moon and then the full moon, so it should feel a little bit more powerful that way too.
Yes, it's been a very like cosmic year with the ring of planets and the lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, and just
For sure. That's hilarious. Look how we left science and went to the woo-woo like a second. Now you know why I like this girl. I'm like, nice to meet you, get in here.
right. You kind of like recognize those two.
I was like, get on in here, you miss science. You and I will talk science and then we'll woo out. All right, then you have Halo salt.
Yes, right over here in like North Royalton, Broadview Heights. I'm gonna be at Holistic Halo Salt Spa for their, I want to say 7-year anniversary, and they are awesome. They have massages and they have the salt services. They have a sandbox with the salt, and yeah, they're just gonna be kind of having a celebratory event. So I'll be there, and then here on the 24th.
Saturday the 24th. You guys, it's kind of a long day. Here's how it's going to lay out. We'll have a block of time to come in and get your before picture taken. And then that can be a little bit variable, like you don't have to like stay every moment of that time. And I'll have specific instructions going out to everyone who's enrolled or who is registered, so that you'll know exactly what's going on. And then we'll have our block of time for practice that we'll do all together. And then the after pictures will happen. And so, yeah, so it seems like it's like all day, but you can plan to kind of have some soft space on the before and after, because Jeanette will have to photograph each person individually. And like I said, we don't have a million spots, so even though the room fits 34 people, we have 15 spots open in order to get this done all together. So if you want one of those, snag it now. Snag it
Yeah, and
now.
the picture itself really does not take very long.
Yeah,
So if you're like,
7 minutes,
yeah, exactly. Like I can run in and then be on my way to do errands before I come to class, totally good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know afterwards people might be a little glistening and glowing and that's okay.
Yeah, we'll have some tea and stuff. We'll make it nice for the after. Maybe
Yeah.
people want to run around so much of the after, but for the before, for sure. Just be sure you get back here for the practice so you can enjoy the whole before and after thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
Me too. All right, what do you say?
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you on the 24th, and thank you for having me.
Check the links in the bio. You'll want to click on Oracle's social media links and follow her, because Jeanette does a really great job of posting, and she shares a lot of inspiration and some education. And yeah, A+ on your social media.
Thank you. It's the mental health, and I feel like I always have to add the educational piece in there too.
Of course, of course. It hooks people like me for sure.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for following, you guys. Thank you so much for following. Bye-bye.